Hello, everybody. Hello. My camera has moved. We are
Hi,
live now.
everybody. So we're here again, Ilona and Zoria. We're doing our every Saturday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. We're doing live and we're talking everything to do with multifamily. So if you haven't joined us before, welcome or welcome back. And yeah.
And thanks for watching us. If you're watching us in a recording, we appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Leave your comments. Give us likes. Let us know you're here. We want to know if you're here so that we should be able to see your comments.
Yeah, they should come up.
Yeah. So today we are talking about doing your diligence, what that means, and what it means to feel like you've done your due diligence, and why it's important to do your diligence before you remove conditions.
Yeah,
And specifically
on brand new property, on like reconstruction or new build property. Yeah, what do you want to do before you remove those conditions and it's kind of officially sold for you, and you could lose your deposit if you back out after that point. So you want to make sure that you could have a few things taken care of. So starting off, like typically when you do due diligence on multifamily, like it's built. So in this case, there's no building to look at. There's no inspection to be done. But you need to do due diligence on the builder and on the contract. So some ways that I would suggest doing that is to just try and get to know the builder, look at some of their past projects. If you can, look at other stuff that they've built, if you can, if you're in the same city, or get somebody else to do that for you. I would also talk to other investors or other people who have worked with that builder.
So important, because things change, right? The builder might have been awesome for the past, 5 years, and then all of a sudden something is happening, and perhaps their projects are not on par as they used to be. So just for you, it's good to know, to be aware of that, and to think of strategies to mitigate potential risk to you as the buyer.
Yeah. And another thing for new builds, or just working with a builder, you want to know their track record, and especially for that particular design that they're building, because they could have been, really experienced in building single family homes and even like custom homes. But if now you're building a multifamily building with them, that's going to be completely different, and you don't necessarily want to be the first one taking on that project with them.
Oh, that's such a good point, Zoria. And like thinking about multifamily, like purpose-built rentals, right? Like what does that mean? You can just take a regular residential single-family type of construction and say, okay, now we're going to build a purpose-built rental, because rentals come with their own specifics that you need to ensure are implemented in the project.
Yeah, and not just to be legal, there's certain requirements as far as permitting and everything, but also, if the builder has never done a rental property before, they might not be thinking about what it's like for a tenant living in that property. You kind of, so if you're working with them, maybe trying to design something that's going to work as a rental property, you have to imagine yourself as a tenant living there and how it's going to feel. So that's some of the stuff that we did before buying our first sixplex, and we just really tried to imagine what it would be like living there, and how we would get in and out of the property, how we would get to the garage, and when you do that, it became obvious afterwards, but we'd imagine how is the tenant going to get to the garage? Oh, they would have to jump off the balcony to do that. So we added some stairs.
Or how are they going to take the garbage out, right? You don't want them to throw
how are they going to take the garbage out if they don't have a garage or access to a back lane? So just think about that stuff, which you might think the builder thought about that already, but they're not the one who's buying it. So you have to do your job in kind of figuring that part out as well. Just make sure that it's a good tenant-friendly design, and maybe already is, but it maybe just needs some tweaks.
And may I add to that, Zoria, before you move on to the next point, is that how important that part is. Because the tenants are the ones, like if you treat it as the business, right? You create a great design, a great product that tenants want to pay rent for every month. And these are the people who are helping you pay down your mortgage. These are the people that, thanks to them, you're having cash flow. So how can you make life for them as easy as possible, especially in a small multifamily project like what we are working on right now, where it's shared premises. There's no shared common areas, but it's a row of four student townhouses. So basically, we have tenants on the main floor, 1 bedroom, and 3 bedroom on the second and third floor. So there is, like, you want to make it as soundproof as possible. Like, what are some other features that Zoria, you would say, like in terms of soundproofing? Do you want to talk about that? Because we've made some adjustments.
Yeah, that's one thing we changed in our design too. We made sure that they'd had like the resilient channel, so that reduces vibration, and then having the right type of like soundproof insulation put in as well. That's really important.
Yeah. And it's really also, like, when you think about it, when you go tour one of the townhouses, you will see that there is a shared wall where in the front door, the upper tenants would be going up the stairs, and then the lower unit tenants just go to their door, either on the left or on the right. So the wall that separates the stairwell leading up to the upper unit, and basically that wall, it's a shared wall. So you want to make sure that that wall is really soundproof as well, because sound can travel. And one of the adjustments that we've done is that even though this builder has been building these small multifamily properties for a while now, they still haven't made that adjustment to their designs. So this is something that Zoria recommended, and we just like implemented that. We took out the door that leads, there is an extra door where you can enter from, you can walk between the units, lower units, and you can enter from the lower unit, the stairwell that goes up. And in the past, when I asked about the reason for that door, I was told is that to help in case you have multi-generational family occupying one townhouse, it's easier for them to go visit each other, which is a great concept. But we are buying these properties for renting, so we are not anticipating to rent them to multiple generational kind of families.
Yeah, it's not as common. And typically, like a family that's looking for, say, in that case, it would be like a 4-bedroom, 4-bath house. And for someone looking like that, they can probably find something cheaper than what we would want to get for rent for the upstairs and the downstairs. Like, I don't think they would probably find a 4-bedroom house that would work better for them. And so, yeah, like most people, chances are we're not going to be renting to a big family like that. So we just got rid of the door that was in between the units, so that to avoid that sound transfer. And it also just feels like more of a private space when you don't have this adjoining door between the units. So,
and now that has its benefits too, because then you can design a little nice little nook for like what is that called? The entrance where you put coats and you have
just a little
bench and
bit of a nook and some hooks. You can put stuff there, so that
like you can put a mirror, you can put the plant. It's just like you could make it more inviting and not feel like somebody can enter your space unannounced. So
so that's stuff, and that's part of the due diligence process too. And whether you kind of make the changes at that stage before you remove conditions or not, like you do want to know that the builder will work with you to make changes like that. You'd want to review the drawings and layout up if possible before you remove conditions. But they might not actually make those changes until after you remove conditions, once they know that you're actually going to buy it. And so now back to other things that you should do in that due diligence period, which typically is about a month for these new construction projects. is, well, the condition that you're removing is the financing condition. So you have to make sure that you're going to have be able to get financing. And so this is the point in the process that you need to decide whether are you getting residential financing, are you getting commercial, and what can you do ahead of time to get comfort in the fact, like if you can get a pre-approval, that's great. Or what can you do to get comfortable in the fact that you will be able to get financing later on in the process. So on the commercial side, you can't necessarily get a pre-approval. That's not a thing on the commercial side, but you definitely want to talk to a mortgage broker. You'll want to give them your net worth statement, how much funds you have, so they can make a good assessment how likely it is that you'll be able to get financing.
And on the commercial, like Zoria said, it's usually not a pre-approval, but a comfort letter that they issue you if you're going with commercial financing. So they're comfortable enough to give you a statement in writing to say that they're comfortable that this project will get financed. Zoria, do you want to talk about the fun part, the touring of the actual property, like pre-drywall touring that we did? It took us a few hours, and it was really, I feel like it gave us a good sense of the things that should be done and we're not done yet. And we've noticed some things that we wanted the builder to fix. And
yeah. So Ilona's talking about the pre-drywall tour that we did. This would have been like after we removed conditions. But in our case, just because of the timing of it, I think we did do it before we removed conditions.
Yeah, we did it before.
Yeah. So it was a little bit different just because the one we are buying was like more of a quick possession, and the project was already under construction when we got it under contract. But typically, you would do this tour or inspection like kind of almost like halfway through the build. You've already removed conditions, but it's a good step. And I know it's hard to do if you're, say, out of town, but it's a good time to maybe make a trip out to wherever you're building and do this tour and just see everything with your own eyes. So it's usually, before they do the drywall. So all the framing is done, all the electrical is done, all the plumbing is done, so that you're basically seeing the build before they cover it all up with drywall. And you want to, if you don't know what you're looking at, you might want to bring somebody along that does. But I think you can still notice certain things. Like you can tell when something's not right. Like there's holes where I don't think there should be holes. And even if you don't know if that should be like that or not, it's just good to see it and ask questions. And then you can find out from that. I think that was like the most thing. We kind of saw holes in the roof, and then but some of those were supposed to be there. They knew about them and they were going to cover them up later. Other things, we saw that like just certain, might see that certain framing not done that properly. And like I know in the very first build that we did was our own home, and we would see things like the plumbing or like the venting that was going to be behind the walls was not really secure. It was just moving around a lot. So that's the kind of stuff, and then we just got them to just secure it a bit better so that like when water goes down those pipes, it's not going to be shaking around and making a lot of noise.
Exactly. Yeah. So what we toured, so this property that we are taking possession of very shortly doesn't have a basement, but it has a crawl space. So the first thing that we did when we went in was to go with our flashlights in the crawl space to check it out. And it's a good thing that we did, because we've noticed some things that we had to ask. We asked the builder about, and just to feel like we are comfortable with proceeding, which was good. Oh, we have a question here from Mel. How frequently will the builder allow you on-site visits for inspection? Do you have to spell that out upfront in your purchase agreement? What is a reasonable number of visits? And that's a really good question, Mel.
Yeah, I would say that I think with anything, not just inspections, but with anything, it's as much as you can put in the contract up front, especially around things like, what's included in the price and all that. You want to really spell that out in the contract, get clarifications on that before you remove conditions. So including your inspections, if you can actually put that in the contract, that would be best. But typically there's like two. There's the pre-wall and pre-drywall inspection, and then there's like the pre-possession inspection. But with most builders, they're pretty reasonable. If you wanted to inspect it at any other point in the build or come check it out, then they're usually fine with that, as long as you let them know. And because just for safety reasons, you don't want to just be going onto the site any time. But usually most builders will be okay with arranging a time that it's safe to go, that the trades aren't working, if you wanted to inspect it at any other time. But it is a good idea to just keep on top of your build, because it is yours, and this is what you're buying. So thanks for that. That's a good question.
Yeah.
And all our experiences bring like 2 scheduled visits, but you can have more, and usually, you can just talk to the builder about it.
And basically, the recommendation, if you're doing an in-person visit like that, is to take as many pictures as you can. Just take pictures, document everything, and so that you can bring it up with the builder and show them what you mean. And maybe they can explain why there is a hole in the roof. like in our case, it was there on purpose.
Yeah.
Because we got an explanation for that, and they knew about that hole.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, and even if this is not a rental property, if you're building your own home, say for the first time, another good reason to take pictures is like just to see what the studs and everything look like behind the drywall. So that if you're ever going to hang a TV or curtains or something, you'll know where the wood is. Like you can use a stud finder, of course, but it's just kind of good to know where everything is behind the drywall.
And of course, guys, it's awesome for taking pictures and showing before and after, right? This is what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like now. And those are always fun photos to look at.
Yeah. So as far as like due diligence, I think we basically covered it. That's basically making sure doing due diligence on the builder, reviewing the contract. If this is also your first time working with a builder, I would get that contract reviewed by a lawyer.
Yeah.
Because there's certain things they're usually very heavily weighted in favor of the builder, because especially bigger builders. So you want to make sure that you're protected in case something doesn't go right. So having that reviewed by a lawyer is good. And then doing your due diligence on like kind of what design, and making sure you understand what's included in the price, what's not, getting it all laid out in the contract before you remove conditions, and then the financing.
And also like making adjustments, right? Like these townhouses come with double car garages, and we made sure that garages were split each were split in half. So we had 8 single car garages now. So every unit in the property has access to a covered garage, which is great. We think it's a really important feature to have, especially in a purpose-built rental.
Yeah. And as much of that kind of stuff, if there's any changes to the design, you want to do that as soon in the process as you can, because later on, if they have to change the drawings in order to do that, then it's just going to be more expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what else? Actually, something that we haven't talked about is what gives you comfort for removing financing is if you are not using your own money and you have investors, then talking to investors and making sure you have solid commitment on the project, so that you have money in trust transferred to the lawyer, basically for them to keep the money until you have to remove conditions and you're taking possession and all that stuff, because you are making deposits on the removal of conditions.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, at condition removal, you're typically making a deposit. So yeah, definitely, absolutely want to make sure you have your investors committed, or you have the money yourself to close. Like if you don't have all of your investors yet, but you want to make sure that you're going to be okay financially to close on this property when it's built.
Yeah, because then you're taking all the risk right? Like Zoria said in the beginning, that if you're not removing conditions, if you remove condition and you can't close on the property, you're losing that deposit.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mel. Well, do we have any other questions? We are coming towards the end of our half hour, and we would love to answer questions if you guys have any.
I can't remember if there were any other unanswered questions from last time. I think we covered most of it.
Do you want to talk about the status of our project?
Yeah, there's been a lot of moving parts lately on our project. We've been, just working on getting our financing in place. Like at this point in the project, it's, basically talking to different lenders and getting the best product, because really we're just getting some bridge financing in place in order to purchase the property, and then we're going to be refinancing with CMHC later. So just kind of getting the best product right now. That was mostly what we were dealing with this week, and just making sure that possession dates. The building is on track. We've been setting up utilities. We've been posting for tenants, and it's last day. It's been a lot going on.
Yeah, quite. Like this was a really busy week for us, for advertising, financing. Are you getting construction financing? Trevor is asking. I think that construction financing you're getting when you're actually building it yourself, right? Like we have a builder who is building, so I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they are getting construction financing.
Yeah, no, in this case, we're not getting the construction financing. We're not financing the construction. The builder takes care of that, but that is common when you're working with maybe smaller builders, where you're the one taking the construction financing out, and the loan basically gets paid out to the builder at certain points in the construction when certain parts are done. But in this case, we're working with like a bigger builder, so they're financing it, and all we had to do is put a deposit down at the beginning of the project. And then he also says,
what asking again?
What time has the private money been needed?
And we have a similar
investor money.
How did you start and how did you fund these deals? I feel like that's a question for another stream. It's a very important question.
About how to, but yeah, briefly about the private. I'm not sure what you mean about the private money. Would be like the investor money. At what time has the private money been needed? Well, if you don't have your own money, then you have to get private money or investor money. So you need some upfront at condition removal, and then the rest later. But it depends on whether you're doing the construction financing or not. Like we're kind of mostly just talking about mostly like pre-construction projects. You'll need some money up front, but then you don't need the rest until closer to possession. Like you want to make sure it's lined up before possession, like because the lender is going to want to know where the money's coming from.
And if you're doing it as a corporation, they want to see corporation structure and who the shareholders are and who's contributing how much.
Yeah.
I'm the same. You guys are doing multifamily focus live today. Yeah, no, but you're asking good questions, so we'll be addressing that part about what did you say, how you started and how did you fund those deals. So that's another live for sure.
Yeah, but in this case, Trevor said, we mostly have to have the most of the funding at possession. So you have to do everything you can to make sure that you have those funds at possession. That's kind of what we've been working on, and also getting insurance in place, and getting like mailboxes set up for our tenants. It's been a
utilities, mailboxes, insurance, rent, like making sure that the place gets rented, working closely with our property manager. So it's like now what we're doing now before we are taking possession. So it's like post due diligence. It's like more like setting up operations in place to make sure that everything goes according to the plan once we remove conditions. And the place is ours.
So we're in a busy time now, and we'll keep you updated as we go. And see how it all turns out.
Yeah.
One more question we'll take. What % deposit did your builder require? So in our case, it was 10%, but I've done on other builds that I've done, it was basically 5% at different stages into the process. It was like 5%, 5%, 5%, and then the last 5% at possession. So which totaled 20% in the end. So they can be structured in different ways, but usually you'll need between a 5 and 10% deposit at the beginning of the project.
Yeah, which speaks to that diligence part, how important it is to do it and to know how much money you need at what stages. And if you don't have your own money, like where are you getting that, right? Who are your investors? So that's important. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate that you're joining our lives and you're participating and asking questions. We want to make this useful to you. As while it's still it's fresh in our mind and we remember all the steps that we are going through. So we are happy to share all this information with you.
Yeah, exactly. Because our purpose here is really to like inspire and educate other women and men to get into multifamily. So yeah. I hope that was useful today. And well, I guess we'll see you again next week.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.
Bye.